Hello everyone, Muffy here. Today I got some information from PAX South. First off though, images and all the information in the full article and a link down below at gamernexus.net. Highly recommend you check that out. But other than that, let's get into it. Now the Star Citizen panel at PAX South was very focused on the persistent universe. First thing we're going to cover that Chris Robert talked about was the ArcCorp Planetside module. Now ArcCorp is supposed to be a planet and it's going to be your starting planet, at least for the moment. Now you're actually going to be able to leave your hangar and step into the Planetside world, to where all the shops, the ship dealers, the bars, to where everything's at. Now for the moment, understandably, these are limited spaces and they're going to expand out of them. However, you're not going to be able to explore the entire planet, obviously, because of all the detail put into Star Citizen. That just isn't quite doable. But they are going to have multiple areas on one planet's surface, so on one side of the planet, you may have a certain area with a certain name, but if you go to the other side of the planet, it'll have a different area for you to land in with different shops and people and such. As for the areas themselves, you're going to be able to invite your friends into your hangar, and I believe you all can leave the hangar and just run around all the shops and the bars and stuff and have a good time. But how would you go about inviting your friends? Chris Robert talked about this thing called MobiGlas, and what MobiGlas is basically a smartphone for your wrist, in a way. You see it in a lot of sci-fi movies. People pull up their wrist, tap it, and then a big screen comes up. This is going to be similarly done in Star Citizen, to where on your wrist you pull up like this three-dimensional menu. And from this menu you can scroll down your contacts list, the in-game chat, all your maps, everything's there. You don't have to pull up some menu with a big map overlay of the galaxy. It's all done on your wrist, and this is supposed to make a more immersive experience. This will also tie into the shops as well. Usually in most games, you go up to the shop dealer and he'll give you the big list of all the items he has and you do it all from there. Now in Star Citizen, I'm sure that's the way it's going to work for more of trading purposes, but as for buying stuff like clothes, weapons, ships, I believe, at least from what I've read, is that everything's sort of going to be on a shelf. You'll do window shopping. You'll pull up your MobiGlas, you'll look at the item, and it'll pull up all the information for you and the price tag and everything. It's done in a similar way with ships, to where it functions like a car dealer. I'm sure you guys have seen Star Citizen has putting a lot of ship commercials, to where they work in a similar way car commercials do, and it transitions over into the real world, to where when you walk into a ship dealer, you got a big ship in the middle of the room, shown under all the lights, all for you to want to buy it. It's not in just some bland list of ships, and they're trying to sell it to you. Chris Roberts talked about sort of things being scattered along different planets. Different companies will have different homes, and they'll sort of stick to there based on what resources are on that planet. If a planet makes a lot of leather or has a big leather supply, you're probably likely to find a leather jacket in one of the tailor stores. To where a planet that doesn't have a lot of leather probably won't have a leather jacket for you to buy. And if they do, they're probably a lot more expensive. And it's all part of that persistent universe. Now, the other big topic that Chris Roberts covered at PAX South was quantum travel and jump gates. Now, right now, most of the footage is under embargo, so I pulled up what I can, but it's not very clear. To compare to Elite Dangerous has this Super Cruise mode, to where you jump into Super Cruise, and that's how you travel between planets in the system. But if you want to go to another system, you actually have to jump into like this warp, and you jump to the whole other system in a very fast frame of time. Star Citizen hasn't distinguished between it, whether you're going to have to jump between systems and you do something else between planets, or you actually just jump between planets and systems. They haven't really clarified on that, but I do know how the actual jumping itself works, so we'll get into that. Now, jumping is going to be a lot harder compared to Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous, it's pretty easy to jump. You just got to charge your drive, make sure you don't take too much damage to that drive, and you basically just blast out of there. Star Citizen, on the other hand, while you do have to charge your drive, you also have to maintain a straight path and have a clear path. This makes escaping combat a lot harder, because while you're charging your drive and driving in a straight line, easily susceptible to fire, just driving in a predictable straight line, as well as a pirate or whoever's attacking you can fly in your path, and this will cancel the jump. Now, when you actually jump, you enter like warp speed and go into a wormhole, and this wormhole is kind of constantly moving around and has walls to the wormhole that you have to actively avoid. It's not just some rendered cutscene you fly through, or you don't fly in a straight line. You actually have to actively avoid colliding with the edges of the wormhole or bars, basically. And these wormholes aren't always in one place. You can jump through a wormhole relatively fine, and I believe you're able to mark out a path of that wormhole on your first jump, and you're able to just quick jump back. I believe that's how that works, but I'm not 100% on that. And anyway, if that's the case, you can't just jump back and forth constantly, even after you've made like a path, because that wormhole is constantly adjusting and moving. It can end up leading somewhere else eventually, so you have to constantly update that path. Wormholes also have different sizes, to where there's a lot smaller, more compacted wormholes that only the tight little nimble ships can get through, to where there's a lot larger wormholes that the frigates can get through. And this can play for some interesting tactics, because if a big transport ship might have to take the larger wormholes that take a long way around to the actual planet they're trying to get to, and the little ship, say you're a little pirate, and you can actually beat them to that location if need be. At the moment, I don't know the consequences for actually hitting the sides of the wormhole or dropping out of the wormhole. They haven't been mentioned. I would presume you either drop out of the warp or destroyed, maybe. But we'll see. Chris Roberts has made a timeline. He plans to release the FPS module first. He hasn't given a date or anything, but he says that's first. And then moving on to the Planetside module, where you can go out, explore all the shops and everything. He has mentioned late March, early April for that. Persistent Universe module, which it allows buying and selling of goods and traveling between planets. And this is scheduled somewhere between June and July. And by the end of the year, the goal is to have 5 systems to fly between and trade goods with. I'm not sure if combat is included in that. It hasn't been mentioned, but I would assume so. But it's not 100% either, so I'm not sure. Some other smaller things. Arena Commander's supposed to be changed in the way that you go into it. You don't just jump in your ship and it pops up, or access it in the pause menu. You actually get into a sim pod, and the simulation pod is for immersion. You get in and it activates Arena Commander. There's also some new Grey Cat paint skins if you want them. They're 5,000 UEC each on the RSI website. Those are available now, so you can go get them if you want. And I think that's it. Chris Roberts mentioned that's just sort of a sneak preview of what they're doing, and they're kind of going to unveil the full thing at South by Southwest. As for information on this stuff, I'm going to wait for the embargo to lift and try to find out more if I can, and I may make a follow-up video to this if there's anything I missed or something I need to update. But other than that, I think that's it. Full article down below. I recommend you read it at GamerNexus.net. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty excited for all this sort of immersion and just hanging around in the bar. But that covers everything so far. I'll see you guys in the next one.